Welcome everybody to the December 2023 Friday Live. This is going to be our last meetup for the year. So I know a lot of you people have been coming out every month to support us and support the community. Which on behalf of everybody in the FileMaker land, we thank you for that. One of the things about FileMaker in general, and we were just talking just before we started, that a lot of these communities, every technology has a community, but out of the 3 or 4 communities I've been a part of, absolutely without a doubt, FileMaker has been one of the most strongest, and there's the most camaraderie. I think because we're a little bit smaller, we sort of feel a little bit, I wouldn't say outcast, but we're our own little group. So if we can keep that, we can keep our future really, really strong. This month, we are presenting what we built this year. We do this every year as the last Friday Live of the year. And our goal here is just to showcase some of the different things that people have built. Sometimes we've seen little snippets, but we're going to put all of those little snippets together. So there may be some overlap, but all of these apps are in constant flux. We're going to get started pretty much right away. Not too many announcements. We are presenting this year. We're going to have a booth at Claris Engage in Austin. Everybody's been sort of nagging us to make sure that we go there, so we've managed to secure that. So if you are in Austin at Claris Engage, please come by the booth. If you're part of this community Friday Live, we'll hook you up with some swags. You won't have to win anything today, right, if you come. So I know some of you guys will be going and attending. So that's going to be very, very exciting. And I think that's it for most of the announcements. We'll keep it really short so we have more time for everything else. And we'll jump right in. We're going to jump right into having some of our first guests. And I'm not sure if everybody is ready to go. So if you are not ready to go, and if we call you up, just let me know. We're going to hopefully be able to start off with a staple. I didn't see him come into the room, but Neil, are you here? And if not, what we'll do is we'll jump forward a couple to Rashad. Rashad's one of our new people in our team, Rashad and Linshu, and they'll be presenting first. So if you're good to go, we'll hop into you. You're sorry,
Okay.
unfortunately my Zoom has hijacked my the Zoom. There we go. That's it. Rashad's going to be he's going to be presenting just some app we saw probably a few years ago, and he did a bit of a refresh to it.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rashad. As Charles mentioned, I'm the new front-end software developer with the company. I will be showcasing an app called Floristware, which is a delivery app for florists and flower shops. So this app was made a few years back. The users of this app are delivery drivers that will receive a list of destinations and orders that need to be delivered. We anticipate users to use mobile devices for apps, so the design was made mobile friendly. And so the app was made a few years back. And so I'll show you what the app looked like before. So this is kind of what the app looked like, and the task was to give the app a new look, UI UX refresh. So let me showcase the old app first, and then we'll jump on to what we worked on. So the user comes in and they see their destination over here and the order number. They're able to pick up the orders and select them as they go, and then they can begin their trip. And once the trip starts, they're able to call the customer, look at a map, get directions, call the shop, or go back to the previous menu. And they can switch between the destinations as well. And when they arrive, they can deliver the items and mark them all done over here. So now I'll showcase what we worked on. So then this is the new look of the app with the help of Pearson, our UI UX expert. We put this together. This is not fully completed, but we're close to being done this version. So as you can see, it has a cleaner look. And just like before, the destinations show up over here with the orders. You have the ability to sort them as so. The driver cannot begin a trip before picking up orders. So once they pick up the orders, they're ready to begin their trip. And just like before, now they have a badge saying it's not delivered, and they see their destination, and they can call a customer if they like. They can look at the map, and they can get directions as well. So once the user has arrived at the destination, they click on I'm here. Again, they can call the customer, call the shop. They can pick the items over here, click next, and they'll be taken to this page where they can get a signature from the customer. They can add a note, left at porch as per customer request. And they can take a picture as well. Let's see if this works right now because my Zoom camera is on. So maybe I can't take this right now because of my Zoom camera. Anyways, they can also take a video, add a video, and add a picture as well. I wonder if I can turn off the Zoom camera here. There we go. So the user can take a picture and also take a video. Submitted, and they can delete or retake as they prefer, and they can click on all done. And then as you can see, the badge changes to a delivered status and opens up the next delivery over here, and the user can do the same thing. Go to the destination, drop off their orders, and if for any case it didn't work out, they can click on not complete to go back, or go ahead and complete the order over here. And that's the app in a nutshell. Yeah, and I think that's it.
Super. Thanks, Rashad. So a couple of there were some really subtle changes that you might have missed in there, or everybody might have missed. Is one of the biggest ones. There was zero state change, or sorry, zero delay between pages, and that was done because of, or that came about because we have a different sort of architecture for building apps. We've talked about this in past meetups, but basically now one of the emerging design patterns as we sort of build more and more apps and better forms is to have the data come into the app model, and that flows down into the page model on the page. And since the entire data for this entire trip is more or less one object, we push it into the top, and now the user is free to navigate back and forth as much as they want. So that's a real big performance increase. If you're interested, in learning more about those like performance optimizations and stuff, every Thursday at 10 a.m. we have sort of an open office workshop. You're welcome to. You don't have. Generally, it's better if you do sign up for it, so it's guaranteed to run. But there's a link from our marketing website as well where you can join in on that. They're free. You can come to as many as you want, and whoever's there will just spend the time working on your stuff. All right, we're going to switch over to Lin Shu, who's also new from our team. We introduced her last month. And take it away, Lin Shu.
I'm going to share my screen first. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Lin Xue. I'm the new front-end developer at Delft Engineering, and today I'm proud to demo the vendor system we built for Central Pacific Medical. So we can start by clicking this button, which will take us to the oh, it's probably too small. to the initial inquiry patient on file. So just enter some name. I will enter Oreo, cat, and the injury date will be today. So after I input all these three fields, the submit button light up, so we can hit submit. And the system will check if this person, if this cat is in the system. If it's not found, we'll direct him to the initial inquiry where we will input more details like something like what tech company and do we have the equipment or no? Maybe some contact name. And you can see the patient name will already be there because it's consistent. And claim number, something like that. And I can add equipment. So let's see, a trolley, the code, and it will be rental. I will say it's $100. And I can add more, or I can just remove some equipment. So if I hit submit, I will see this nice thank you page. And if I go back to my, okay, I got this email. So that's the summary of the previous inquiry form I got. Then I can enter more patient information. Oh, I do want to mention, you can see all the information I entered is in this, are in this email. So if I click this button, we will see we have a long form for patient info, claim info, and order info. So same as the previously, we had all the data we entered. It's already automatically filled. So I can, it's mail, some address. I just keep this quick, okay. Yeah. So you see my contact name and email address are already there. I do not need a phone number. So let's click next one. Okay, so like the previous I said, the information we input is already there. We can input more for claim info, like insurance name, and then address, just some filling blanks. So next, order info, some like maybe vendor, something like physician. And here you can see all the equipment I entered already there. You don't worry to enter them one more time. And the final step is to upload the documents. So we need, the first two documents are required. So you see is if they are empty, the submit button is disabled. So let's upload some test files. It's file 1. That's file 2. See the submit button is lighted, and I can add some, let's see, test file 3. I can delete that and upload another file again if I made a mistake. And between those forms, I can always go back to check everything if I made a mistake or not. All the information will be there, and I can hit next. Okay, the final step is hit the submit button, and we'll see the thank you page again. And go back to my email. I will receive the summary of all the information I input. Okay, that's it. My final tip for every developer who is new to our system, to BetterForms, just remember to use our snippets, reference to our examples and demos, and don't hesitate to ask our AI assistant for help. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome, Linshu. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Okay, we've been working, as we mentioned in the past, we've been working on a drag and drop editor. We actually started a while ago and we put it on hold for a number of different reasons. And we've been working on it, or I'd like to say we, but Michael has primarily been working on it. He's going to present that. And our goal is to be able to have this out in alpha in the next quarter. And he's going to give you a little bit of a run through and a demo.
All right, yeah, I'll just start sharing my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Just coming up now, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, my name is Mike. I'll be demoing the drag and drop editor I've been working on for the past couple months. Let's move Zoom. All right, so currently the drag and drop editor is working only on app dev. So on here, as you can see, we have a new alert, learning uses of the drag and drop editor. And if you come over to the little 3 dots on your application, you click those, you'll get a prompt to open up the new editor. And once you do that, that will bring you to the new drag and drop editor page. I think some of you may have seen it, but over the past couple months, there's been some changes and quite a lot of bug fixes as well. Page. So on the left, we have the snippets picker. So you're able to click on the categories we've made and see all the different snippets that we have. This list is basically the exact same as the one on the left-hand side of our normal editor, but we've categorized it here. And you're able to search through them as well, a lot easier. So if we want to add a group, we can search there. And all the options will come up and also show the categories here. So you may have noticed that there's kind of 2 lists that are showing identical data. The one on the left provides a bit of information about the snippet itself. And then the one on the right is for actually dragging elements into the page. So if you see here, we have a toggle switch. And if I bring that over here, it will go onto my page. And when I drop it, it will appear right there. So now you're easily able to drag snippets onto your actual application and move them around as well. Now, on the other tab here, the tree view, this is essentially a kind of summarized list of your entire schema. It shows the layout of where all the elements are, and also the new groups. So the drag and drop editor is using the new version of our base code, I believe, Charles, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So you're now able to have nested groups inside of your pages. And that will help you with organizing all of your data and allow you to apply kind of different classes to groups as well inside of your actual page, which is good for when you have a lot of data in your page as well. As you can see here, we can open and close these groups to simplify it. And then what we can also do is you're also able to drag around the position of the elements through here. So if I move the HTML one down, it will go below the toggle switch there. There's a bit of an issue with the outline here, but that will be addressed. So yeah, it kind of summarizes the tree and element view here. And then on the right-hand side, when we kind of click around the elements, this will give us all of the code for the element that is selected. And this is currently how you're able to edit your HTML elements that are on the page. So if I click into here, it opens the HTML editor and you're able to make changes like normal. And yeah, and then down here, we have the undo button. So if I make a change to the position of an element, I can undo that by just clicking the button, and that will kind of revert the element back to its original position. And this also works for style classes as well when you apply new ones. Then we also have our show group outline button, which I just added recently, which will outline all of the groups you're able to see where they are, which makes dragging them around a little bit easier as well. And then I guess kind of finally, if we come down to here, we have our class selector. So this kind of gives a summary of all the classes that are applied to the element that you selected. And you're able to kind of move around through them and delete the classes that you don't want. And then also go back and search for new ones that you want to add. This class selector will show you all of the options for Tailwind 3 classes and will allow you to add custom classes if you want. So let's say I don't want padding 8, I want padding 40 pixels, then it will apply those as well, which is nice and allows you to put your own custom classes on it. And that kind of summarizes the class picker here. And now kind of for the actual preview area, as you saw, you're able to move your elements around. You can move them through groups, move them out of groups, and basically anywhere you want them to do, like a normal drag and drop editor. And it also gives you the option to delete certain elements. So if I want to click delete, I can get rid of it. Or if I want to duplicate the element, I can just click this button here and it will duplicate it. So that's kind of nice when you have larger groups that you want to create multiple of as well. And that's kind of the preview area. You're also able to resize the preview, so you can test it on smaller screens or you can test it on larger ones, depending on what you want. So if you're designing an app for mobile, it'd be more useful to actually keep it like this, so you can see exactly what it looks like while you're developing it. This page also has the script editor built in here. So you can click on this tab at the top here, and it will open our new action script editor, which you may have seen in the editor recently. And that works as normal. It's also our schema page. That gives the normal page schema, which you're also able to edit from here as well. And also the default form settings are all in here. So you can edit those as normal. If you come over to the data model, this is the data model. It works like the one on the normal page editor. And also any test data you put into here will also reflect in the preview. So if you can see here, the email is John. And if I come back in here and make a change, I believe it was here, I think, change this to Michael. Save that. I think hopefully it should, yeah, update there as well. So you're able to use test data and it will update as expected in the preview as well. So yeah, that's kind of a overview of the new drag and drop editor. There's a couple of small bugs that still need to be fixed, but it came a long way in the past couple months. Are there any questions?
Michael, if I wanted to change that background blue, how would I go about doing that?
Oh, yeah. So if you want to change the background blue, you can click on the background and that will select the page element. And then in the bottom right, you can see all of the classes that are applied. So here I have background sky. Let's say I don't really like that and I want a, let's say, gray background. I can click on the class picker and just search for background gray, and it'll come up with all of the options for gray background. And I'm able to click one of those, and that will be the new background.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions?
This is great, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I give Michael lots of credit. I started this as a project, and he's I got it to maybe second base, and he's driving it home now. So awesome! High five to Michael for that.
Quick question: will you eventually be surfacing like visibility as well, or you always do that in the
Great question.
that JSON object?
No, that will eventually disappear. And I'm going to show you how we're going to how we're going to disappear it, how we're going to make it disappear in the next next segment here. But that's a good question. Yeah, we do want, so part of the true power of BetterForms is that you can do things like add calculations onto almost anything. So you can make anything dynamic, a label, the number of labels, anything, the classes, right? It's super flexible, so you don't have limitations there. But how do you represent that in a UI is a real challenge, right? Like how do you tell the user that they can edit anything and still allow, but at the same time have something very simple at the top, but dive in deeper. And by not removing JSON totally, because underneath that is the database of the UI, right? That's the actual schema. So by keeping that surfaced in some way, in some fashion in the UI, that gives us a huge, massive benefit. The other big thing, Michael, he talked about it almost casually, but the fact that it's actually pulling live data from your data model. This app is not a rendition of your app. That is the actual app that's inside that iframe in the window. So that means if you add style classes or if you had some kind of DOM header inserts for some different design or something like that, all of that stuff is available right inside your app. So you're actually editing the actual live app, if you will. And what happens is the outer window is actually sending the app basically a new page schema, just like the app is running in there. And the overlays, the visual stuff, the bounding boxes and all of that stuff, that's actually sitting on top of the app. So at any point in time, it's at various stages of, it's like a race car, right? At any time, it's half the time it's taken apart and half the time it's ready to go, or a smaller percentage. So, all right. Thank you, Michael.
No problem.
I'm going to just jump to one quick thing that we're going to be architecting out. I wanted to tell you about really quick here. Currently in our editor, we have, where is it here? This is not the one I want. This is what I want here. Currently in our editor, we have an actions editor, and it sort of looks like this here. And we introduced this maybe about 4 months ago or something like that. It got deployed, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to watch the different people use new things that we build. Our team, from what I understand, whenever I see them online and we're pairing together, they don't use it. I use it all the time, this editor. Everybody has their own sort of comfort. It's like they can maybe manipulate the keystrokes and shortcut keys and stuff really fast. But the whole idea of this new editor is that it's really quick to build up actions. So we currently have a JSON area here, and one of the things we're going to be changing and we're building out is we're going to be wrapping that JSON area with some more UI, and this similar UI will end up in the new editor as well. So the main difference is you still have all access to all of the same settings. But if we toggle this switch, and this may change the UI image or such, but as we toggle this will turn into JSON editing mode. So now you can sort of dig in underneath. This is actually somewhat of a common design practice in a lot of tools where you have some type of UI and it's sitting on top of some other settings like YAML settings or something like that. So it's very similar design pattern. And then here we'll have various types of inputs. So for example, height and width, this is for a show card modal as just purely an example. And since every action can take JavaScript, we'll also have a JavaScript snippet area here. And then if you click this, that'll open up your regular JavaScript window. So we'd like to hear some of your feedback. If you do have any feedback and things from this page, we don't get a lot of comment submissions, but we hopefully as you use it more and more, we'll be able to dial it in perfectly for your use case. All right, next we have Jason Perry, one of our team. And he's going to be presenting just some new workflows that we built in an internal app that we have.
Okay. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So the internal app that we're working on is for a company from Synergy with Jordan Jacobs, who I believe is also on the call. And basically, it allows us to take scripts. So you see on the left-hand side, we have a PDF scripts of one of the shows, Elementary. that has various scenes, and you can see in scene 7 in here, various characters in the scene. So it allows us to upload this information into the system in a way that will let the users interact with it. So for example, various people from the props department, graphics department, when putting on a show, will want to look through the script and highlight key pieces of information in each scene that they need to be aware of to set things up on the set. Synergy is, even though I'm presenting, it's really a group effort. So Pearson and another UX designer, Anna, has been heavily involved in all the UX design that we see in the system. The UI has been done by a number of our UI designers on the team. The section that I'm going to show you, which is the ability to upload the script and see kind of the script information that was processed during the upload, has been kind of a combination of base code work done by Eduardo and myself and others on the FileMaker backend. So the way it works is we have our app in here and we have an episode. You see right here that we have no script uploaded. So when I go to the episode, it tells me that no script is added, so we have to import the script. So I'll click here to import this. I'll also point out in the midst of, give me one quick sec, contract work, engineering, production flow, test scripts, elementary. In the midst of uploading it, it's going to send us various status updates to give the user an indication of where they are in processing the script. So this is also, it uses a lot of messaging mechanisms that had been developed and fleshed out by a number of members of the team. That just starts in script 2, so I'll hit save. And you can watch and you can see kind of the messages start to work in here. So saying that's pre-processing the script.
Jason, what's all happening right now?
Okay, so right now, what's going on is this process starts a number of routines that were written in the back end that takes kind of get some JSON objects of the relevant data and feeds it into Lambda functions that were written by Eduardo in the base code that then processes that information and returns JSON objects that indicate relevant information, like, for example, the scenes, each line in the scene, the characters that are in that particular scene, which I then take and run through various scripted APIs in FileMaker that will process those JSON objects to create the relevant records that create the scene, the characters, and links the characters in the scenes. So the result of this is you then end up seeing the script like this. If I hit the drop down, you can see that we have all the various different scenes. You can see in here, scene 16, we know that this particular set was linked to that scene. If I navigate to that scene, you see in here that we have the script lines in here, and you notice that in scene 16, they're Joan and Sherlock. And we can see, if you look on the right-hand side, then in scene 16, we have Joan and Sherlock as characters within the particular scene. In there. This now allows the user to kind of go in and say, we wanted to mark something on this very scene, say, yellow crime scene tape. So they would so a user would come in here and say, okay, yellow crime scene tape is something that we actually want to make sure that we have in the scene. So they may go in here and say, okay, that's a particular prop that we want to make sure that we have in the scene. And let's say it's going to be used by Joan and we want to have one of them. So now here's an example right here of, okay, we have that the user went in, they're a prop master wanting to make sure that they have all the various props when they're shooting that scene. So one of these things will be the yellow crime scene tape. So we've highlighted that, and we have some information indicating that would be used by Joan and that we need one of them in here. And if we go to something like a props page, we would be able to see this in a bit more of a report fashion. Stop here in case anyone has any kind of questions or comments, or if anyone on the team wants to make sure we kind of highlight something.
I don't see any comments.
Nope.
One thing that's kind of interesting, Jason mentioned that this app is using a lot of the final goal is to really be collaborative, right? So it takes advantage of BetterForms messaging. Messaging is just it works in 3 different typical modes, basically server to clients, peer-to-peer, and peer-to-peer with the server watching the data. And most of the collaboration in this one is using server to client messaging, and messaging is really easy. If you haven't used it, there's a number of people who are starting to use it a little bit more. It actually came out a few years ago, but basically the gist is you do a simple API call to your BetterForms app and passing it an API key, which is available in the app settings. And you can send the page, or you can send the data model, you can send actions, right? Just so the same actions. It's almost like running a hook, but it's only the return side of the hook. It's almost identical to that. And that allows you to do virtually anything. You can navigate and open new, within permissions, you can open new tabs, navigate around, change data on the page, run JavaScript. There's virtually nothing you can't do with the messaging system. So as one user is making the change, and that change goes into the server sends the data down to the peers who are observing that. If you haven't used it yet and you have a legitimate use, come into our workshops on Thursday, and we'll hook some stuff up. Awesome. Thank you, Jason. All right. I think that's mostly it for our team. We're going to jump to some people in our community, and we're going to have Chris Conger. He's going to present some FileMaker stuff, I think.
Yeah, let me share my screen here. Everyone see my screen okay? All right,
Yeah,
so this is all just dummy. We've done a ton of really cool things in BetterForms this year. But I was not the one that developed them, so I don't want to take anyone's thunder. I think Andrew may present some later. I know Steve Winter will be on a future BetterForms Live. I think it's in New Zealand. I don't know what, I think it's the 23rd already, and 4 a.m. in the morning. So, but I know he and Charles have talked about doing some that actually involves that messaging and some integrations with Microsoft Office tasks that is really cool that Steve has built. But I'm going to show you a couple things here in FileMaker. The first one is just a report builder. And I really think, as I was thinking through this, that this could be built in BetterForms and give some really powerful use for some of our customers as their needs grow. But the ability for our customers create their own reports rather than always coming back for us for, hey, we need this export or that export, has been really big for us. So this is just a report builder. This one currently right now just has 3 fields in it: customer ID, first name, last name. If they come over here and they pull a list of customers, whatever it may be, and you can see we really work on trying to optimize speed. This is a table of 510,000 people, and it works fairly fast. All native FileMaker to get that type of performance. And if anything, if someone wants to talk about it later after the call or some other time, I'm happy to hop on a call and share the techniques that we use for all our stuff. But if I come in here and just run this report, it generates, it's using combination of monkey bread and then a custom function that we built to generate it. So I have this, looks okay. Now they want to come back and they want to add some fields in here. They can come in and add field. We predefine what fields for each context that they can add. But they can come in here and add, let's say they want to add an email. And when they do this, they get all kinds of options in Excel. We pre-format it based on what we anticipate them needing. And this one will go a fixed width of just 30. They can change that to, let's make it 40 just so it looks a little different. And then we'll add phone too. Just so you guys can see this.
And that width, Chris, that would be the width in the Excel.
In Excel.
Wow.
The same way you would make the width of whatever it is in Excel. Same thing, and we'll make this header. We'll make this data just for demo purposes bold, and we'll center it. Whoop, I forgot to set. We'll go this one auto size to max width of data, rather than a fixed width. And then we can do it to column width, max width depth. And I really think we could do this in BetterForms as well. Give them a really nice UI of drag and drop and doing all that stuff. And now they can come back over here into the context, run the same report. And they get all those fields in here in this report. So I put preferred phone number. Let me put the actual phone number in there. Oh, you get the idea. I put what was preferred amazing. Phone number field. But yeah, they can control a lot of different things. Here you can see this one I left justified. This one was centered. So they can control a lot of different things. If they want to add in, this one already is adding in a 1-column header. If they want to add in I already have the additional rows turned on, but let's say they wanted to add 2 additional rows. If they're reporting from an event and they want to list the participants, maybe the first 3 rows are like event name, event dates, whatever. They can add those things in. Right now, I'll just say demo. And we'll bold it and left justify it. And I can define where I want that to be as long as it's in the context of those first 2 rows. And now when they come in and run the report, it has a header at the top that they can utilize that as well. So it gives them a lot of functionality. But basically what we do is we define, oh, that opened up on a different window. Sorry about that. And now you can see that there's a header row up here and they can add different things in. But what we do is there's a table that we give them all their possible merge fields that they can use. And you can see they can also actually merge links as well. If they want, you can see this is a dynamic URL and those type things. So sometimes for a customer, they'll report all the registration links that they're related to and send them off that file. So they can do links. So this is the fields that they have available based on the context of their report. And then we have a custom function that goes through and says, okay, if you're in this context and you want this field, this is how you get to that data. Custom functions. Really wish there was a shortcut to custom functions. We use them a lot. File specific export substitution. And it's really simple. I mean, it's just, we do it this way. So if I'm in the context of orders and the merge tag is name first purchaser, this is how I'm going to get to that path. And I just define all my paths in the custom function. And
so
then
you use this as a custom, sorry to interrupt you, Chris. So you use this as a custom mapping tool, basically to map a simple
that's
field
exactly
or
it.
word, a visual word, a presentable word to some deeper path. Nice.
Yep, exactly. And I use it
Very
in a
nice.
custom.
Very nice.
Thank you, Beverly. I use it as a custom function rather than in a table because if I don't like brittle code. I like to have the ability to change field names, and obviously in a custom function, these will update if I change the field name. versus in a table, it would not. So I use a custom function just to prevent it from being a little bit more brittle. So, and then Monkey Bread is great, and they have a nice little Excel integration with it, and whoops. And all
So
it's really, it just loops through, it creates a JSON object is what that report builder does. It creates a JSON object of all the different keys and just loops through those. And it gets down into, creates the header rows and does all the different things. Here I am. And this is the part that does the data. So I'm writing the data rows, and all I'm doing is get the value. I get the JSON row and the merge tag. And then I use that export, that custom function. I know the context and the merge tag, and it gives me back the field that I just mapped.
So, and then you're passing that to the MBS plugin, and that's
Yep.
what's generating the XML or the Excel file.
Yep.
Nice.
And it does it field by field. Loops, and it's super fast. Like the performance of it, I was shocked. I feel like it's almost faster than native FileMaker exporting. I haven't done any A/B testing, but the performance of it is ridiculous. It's field by field, and it can custom format anything that you can do in Excel as far as formatting. You have access to. You can do calculations. You can do everything in there.
So you could make your Excel, basically your Excel report look nice.
Yes,
You know, almost
absolutely.
kind of on point theme branded almost, and then
Yeah, 100%.
which is wow, yeah.
And I think
and that's a huge requirement for a lot of people. I've got a template that has to be this way, and I want just my data in that template, but you know, it's a lot harder to push, you know, right from FileMaker, but this kind of solves a lot of that. Very
yeah,
cool.
and what I liked is it gives our customers the full flexibility of building
Right.
multiple reports. I mean, they have 100 reports now, which didn't take us any dev time, didn't take them any requests. When they need it, they could build it. So
Yeah.
and I
Very
think
good.
you could build something really even better UI wise in using BetterForms and using some JavaScript because all it is creating a JSON object on the back end for each report has a JSON object that it builds.
You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of things you could that yes, BetterForms would be okay at or do fine. But the libraries, one of the things it can't do, well, BetterForms, it's not the BetterForms thing, it's a JavaScript thing, doesn't do as nicely is create rich export files, like decent ones.
Yep.
And that's something that I haven't really looked at. We have a number of apps that use Excel exports, but we're using kind of I don't know, some Excel to JS or some kind of plugin or something, and it's not really that flexible. And you got to jump through a lot of hoops to format these cells and make them look good. So that's kind of a challenge there.
Yeah, I was thinking, Charles, of in BetterForms building the UI for building the report.
Yeah.
And it creates the same JSON object that I'm creating in FileMaker, and then still run it through Monkey Bread to create it, because it does give you a lot of flexibility in it.
Yeah, and that's interesting. We could probably build something if you're interested in that. I mean, a really neat example. Because it's more or less just blocks. You have a bunch of blocks and you just drag the blocks. We have a number. It's a Kanban board with a different shape. And you could do that we could whip something up like that fairly easily. And it can be native JS if you wanted to run it in a web viewer as well, just the same way.
Yeah.
Suggestion in the chat about using Microsoft Graph API as well.
Yeah, definitely. We built this a while ago. We do use some Microsoft Graph API stuff that actually Steve will demo. Not for Excel, but for both tasks and email. No, I'd love to look into that Microsoft Graph as well. Very nice.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I really love how powerful that is. That looks like it took a lot of work.
Once you figure out Monkey Bread, that was probably the hardest part, is because it's actually using a third-party library called libxl, I believe, is what Monkey Bread's using. But it wasn't a huge lift. Now I guess it wasn't as bad as you think. It was pretty straightforward. And then when you add a new context, you just redo that mapping custom function. So, Charles, you got time for one more quick little thing?
Yeah, you go for it, because
Okay.
I'm going to try to get Neil. Neil just popped in, and I'm going to try to get him up
Okay.
next if he can.
So another thing is just managing duplicates. This customer and this is on our dev server, and this is all dev data, and it's way under sourced compared to what our clients is, but they have a huge data set that they brought in when we came as a customer that was really kind of gnarly as far as the number of duplicates and that. And we had to give them a way to manage duplicates. And so here, you can see any icon with this has a duplicate. So I have a lot of duplicates in my source, in my dev data. But this person has 20. They gave us their logic that they wanted to say, flag this person as a duplicate. We don't auto remove duplicates just because I feel duplicates is one of those that, yeah, it's really dangerous. So we had to give them a UI to do it. So they can come in here, select potential duplicates, select any random one that you want. What it then will do, and if I decide, hey, this should be the primary one, no, this one should be the primary, I can, this is a bad example because I picked the same name. Let me select one with a slightly different name. There we go. So I can make this one the primary and flips them or put them back and do that. Then they run the comparison. And what this does is it loops through, and it's kind of cool. The way it's built is it only uses the execute SQL to find all the fields in all the tables that are related to people. And so as we add new fields, we're not having to update this process. It just automatically does it. And then it does a comparison. We give it fields to omit, like certain important fields that we don't feel should be included in this, like customer ID or like internal IDs in that. But it goes through and does a comparison of everything. And you can see if it automatically selects the primary, unless it's empty, then it'll select the one that I flagged as a duplicate. But let's say this is the number I want to use. I just select it here. And now when I merge it, this is going to become the one that's going to become used as it. When I merge it, those two will be it. And I can also show all the fields. Right now, we only show the ones that are different, but I can show all the fields as well. So you can see like the state didn't show up initially because it was the same. It's only showing the differences, the deltas. And let's say I want the person's name to actually be Christopher in the system. I can do that. Come through, select which agency is going to be the primary agency between all these. And then the event, this is bad demo data. The orders that they've made and the communications, and it merges. I think there's like 17 tables now that it goes through and merges and changes the keys and modifies everything that it needs to be done as a process. But it just made it really easy for them to reconcile and do it. And this is a virtual list. So it builds a virtual list all in JSON, builds a virtual list, and allows me to toggle which one I want to use as once they get merged, which value is going to remain. And then we do store it as a JSON block. Our customer doesn't know this, but just in case they accidentally merge someone, the old one is still stored as a JSON block after it's merged, and then that file is deleted.
I see. So you're almost logging like the before state, if you will.
Correct.
Like you're saving it. That's a great idea.
Correct. So it was just a really nice way for them to handle their duplicates because they had a lot of them.
So I noticed, Chris, that your design, coding design, you've abstracted a number of things. You've done it with the custom functions, so you've reduced fragility into your coding. You've done it with the SQL queries. You've done it with the ability to flexibly add new fields into your schema and such. Right? That's kind of that's something you do quite often. That's really that's kind of a higher level of design, which really try to encourage people to do most of the time when they build stuff. But they often, I think, a lot of times, FileMaker developers, we don't always make it flexible enough for the future. How do you go about saying, well, I'm going to spend more, because it does take more time sometimes to do those things. It's another layer of code. So how do you sort of make that decision where you're going to do that, or you're not just going to do it the FileMaker way and I'll just kind of code it? And
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Like this one, this particular one where we were doing the ability to add fields and that automatically was included in the reconciliation was just because I knew every time I added a field, I wasn't going to remember to go back and do it, right? Like I try to do as much stuff as I can up front when my mind's in that space that I don't have to try to reset my mind in a month to, oh, what was I doing here? So if it's something that I feel like I'm going to have to remember to do all the time over and over when I add a new field or when I want to try to avoid that as much as possible for me. Now, obviously, like you said, it's a level of abstraction. So there is a balance act of like, I rarely use perform script by name unless I absolutely have to. And there are some cases that I do because I like to be able to use the developer tools that are out there, whether it's FM Perception or whatever, to evaluate stuff or set field by name, like those things really, and then have it set by a variable. I try to avoid that level of abstraction because I want to be able to use the tools to figure stuff out. But if I have to remember stuff in a month, I try to abstract it so I don't have to remember it in the future if I can solve that.
Great philosophy. Thanks, Chris. That was awesome. Really, really impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's come along. Looks like you put a ton of work into that. Beautiful. Next we have Neil Manchester, who's been on Friday Live a whole bunch of times, and he's going to show us maybe some little bits of updates and some stuff to his, I think it's his SVG tool.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? Something that I have shown before, but it's probably when you're asking for cool features, it's probably the best thing that I think we've managed to build out in BetterForms that initially I got absolutely no idea how to do. So gratefully, Charles jumped on a call with me and sort of pointed me down the SVG route, and it's now sort of reached a workable tool. So if I just jump into, everyone saying that okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay. So it basically the background to it for those that maybe haven't seen it before is my app is designed for aesthetic clinics, so people that do Botox fillers, chemical peels, all that sort of stuff. And I needed a way of being able to allow users to record what treatments they'd done. So a bit of background: it's a vertical market that was on FileMaker. So each clinic had their own their own copy of the same file. And initially, when I built it in FileMaker, the face was covered in about 150 little white boxes, each being a number field, and then you could sort of put the number of units. For those that don't know how Botox works, it's kind of injected in units into different locations. So I got tons of different coloured boxes spread out all over the face, that then added up each individual area. So sort of between the eyebrows, the forehead, around the crow's feet, around the eyes and stuff. But I wanted to kind of move that and make it look a bit more professional. So the route we ended up going down was, as I say, to do it using an SVG. So the library it uses, I think it's called Snap SVG, which is an open source library that gives a number of functions. So you can sort of record paths, individual clicks, text, all that sort of stuff. So I've managed to combine all of those to give the users a kind of a range of tools. So when they open up the treatment plan, it opens up in a modal, as you can see, and then there's a number of different things they can do. So first of all, apologies if you can hear my dogs barking in the background. First of all, they can choose what type of image they want to mark up. So you've got male and female face to start off with. The app will automatically pick up based on the gender of the person, if that's already set, of the client. You can change it to a body image as well, and if you've taken a picture of the actual client, you can actually select the picture of the person to mark up as well. Okay, so that's the first element. You can also, if it's someone that's coming back from previous treatments, you can also select from their previous treatment plans, and that'll just copy over the previous JSON array and add that in. And then you can select the different areas that are being injected. So whether or not it's, as I say, in between the eyebrows, around the eyes. Okay, so say we were to select around the eyes there. This is then the sort of the tool selector. So there's 5 different tools, 4 of which use this snap SVG, and then a sort of like an eraser deleter tool. So the first one is kind of the dot tool, which is what's used for sort of single point injections. Okay, so we've got that selected at the moment. We can then select the number of units and the type of unit there. So say we were going to inject 5, we can toggle that up and down quite quickly there, and we can also select the color. And then it's just a case of either, if you're on a computer, clicking, or works really well with an Apple Pen on an iPad or a stylus on a tablet, you can then just click on, and each one is recorded as a JSON object, and you can see that that's then added that up on the left hand side and added that onto the face. And then if we were to change the area, then okay, we could change the number of units, and again that then gives you a running total, but also updates each individual area. So that's kind of the first tool. We've then got the straight line tool. So some treatments, a filler, for example, might be injected from the corner of the nose down to the side of the mouth. So you can put the amount that's being injected. Okay, we could change the color, and then it's just a kind of, drag from the start to the finish, and it'll put the straight line on. And then also records the volume that's been injected at the end of the line. Okay, we've then got a freehand tool, which can be set with different thicknesses. So we could go for like a medium line, a thin, or a thick. Okay, again, put a different color. Okay, and then, I don't know, we could draw on there. You can see it kind of like smooths it out a little bit once you've finished doing the drawing. And then the final tool that works quite well with the freehand is the text tool. So anywhere we were to we want to put that text, we can just click on the face and it'll add that text in next to the location. And then the final tool that's kind of part of the treatment plan is, I was trying to work out a way of allowing people, we've got an undo tool and a sort of delete tool. So undo will obviously delete the last one, but say you make a mistake and you're halfway through. All I've done here is it just loops through the JSON array of the treatment plan until you get to the one that you want to delete. And then you can just click on the delete icon there. Okay, and then that just removes that one. And then obviously we flick back to the tools, and that's us back to our main treatment plan. So what it's allowed my users to do is basically record in one location anything they've done, even if it's for a sort of combination treatment. Whereas in the previous version on built in FileMaker, each one was done separately, and it was didn't have this kind of functionality. So just something probably a bit different that other users might not have seen or thought to build, but using that SVG tool, it's been quite powerful and sort of allowed me to build that.
That's really cool. So Neil, can you tell us just a little bit more how that works? Because I remember originally we sort of pair coded out just a real proof of concept about putting dots and lines, and then we looked at like marking the distances with labels. That was an earlier version that you had.
Yeah, so this is kind of in my on form load. So where are we? So this is at the on form load script, and then this loads each of the individual drawing tools. Okay, so let's head down to, where are we, for example? So if for the on click, I have changed how it's worked a couple of times. Initially, it was just done with a single tap, but what I found, or what users were finding, was if you were using it with an Apple Pen and you were just tapping on the screen, it didn't register any type of movement, so it wasn't actually recording the mark. Whereas with a finger, you put it on, and even the slightest movement then allowed it to be recorded. So that I changed that slightly. Let's just find the code. I probably could just delete all of this now, but change it to a function that's called on press. So basically what that does is it records the start point and the end point of the click, and then just adds it in. Where are we? Down here. Okay, adds it in, looks at the scaling of the image, because the SVG view box is sort of invisible. Well, not invisible, but it's obviously the opacity is set to full, so that you don't see that over the top of the image. But if the person has changed the size of the, or changed which image it is, that needs to be scaled to the view box. So it picks up the scaling and then looks at the X and Y location where they've clicked, and then grabs the current treatment plan. So that's kind of the array of things that they've marked up, and then just adds a new point on. So depending on for the on press, that's used for the dot tool. So that just adds on to the existing array. The fact that it's a dot, what area it's being marked up so that it can add those subtotals up on the left hand side, what color's been selected, all of the things to do with the sort of the coordinates and the image width and image size, and then sets the scaling to 1, which I'll show you why that's done in a moment. So that's for the dot tool. So that adds then that into the array. It then calculates those subtotals and just saves those back into the treatment plan. And then the other tools just follow a similar kind of format. So if we head down to, where are we? Totals. Yeah, so another example here is for the text tool. Grabs a similar amount of data, but just adds a different type of object into that treatment plan array. So each of the different types of elements are saved as a different type of object. And then in the actual treatment plan itself, so we use like a V4. So basically V4 and VIFs. So for each of the types of elements. So for the dot, for example, it's made up of 2 components. You've got the initial circle, which is this first one here. Okay, looks at the scaling, looks at you can set different opacities so that, ignore that bit, that's a bit complex. So that's the dot, and then within the dot you obviously want the number of units that's been injected, so that's then the text element, and that obviously only shows if it's a dot type in the object. And then the line follows a similar kind of format. So you've got initially the solid line that's drawn. You've then got the dotted line that goes from the end of that solid line down to the number, and then you've got the number element there. Okay. The freehand tool is again just with the path there, and then you've got the text tool, which was the last one I showed you that goes along with it. So basically, it just uses a V4, looks at the object, and then displays it based on this point type of those.
So this is a really
types.
interesting thing, because a lot of people don't realize, but an SVG is just XML, right? And XML and HTML are very, very similar, loosely. And you can use view operators like view directives like VIF and VLOOP right on the XML. So therefore, you're basically dynamically exactly the same as you would normally on a page. You're creating these different shapes and objects.
Yeah. And then in terms of the scaling, so if I was to just quickly jump back to here, when it's on the sort of the image as the treatment plan open here, that's with it set to sort of like a scale of 1. But when you save that, I needed a way of being able to reduce the coordinate sizes so that on a smaller image, on the sort of the preview image here, it was all scaled. Because initially when you saved it, the dots were all in the wrong place because the image was smaller, but it wasn't scaling the coordinates to fit with the SVG. So that scaling key within the within each object allows it. I think it's part of the. Again, it might be the on-form node. I can't remember within the treatment record here. It just looks at the scaling and I think uses Lodash to just loop through and change that scaling based on the size of the user's image on the device. Because although that's that size here, if someone's using it on a tablet, all of a sudden that can be a lot smaller or then a lot bigger. So that scaling based on the view box then allows it to always stay in the same location.
Brilliant. Beautiful. Thank you, Neil.
Excellent.
That was awesome.
No problems. Thanks.
Neil, that is amazing. So I may have missed it in the beginning. Are you using the SVG screen over the top of any image? Like, could that person change to a different person? Is there a screen sitting on top, an SVG, or is it the SVG the actual person?
No. So the image is in the background. So let's go up to where we? Here we go. So here's the images. So, and again, this just uses a V if and V else depending on what the user selected. So
Okay.
I've got 4 different images that are kind of hosted and hard coded in. So I've got the female face, female body, male face, male body, and then if the user has taken any pictures, so in here, say the user's taken a picture.
Yep.
Okay, so we upload that. So we've got a before picture in there.
She doesn't look happy.
That was before, Charles.
Yeah,
Right,
so we've got
okay.
our before picture. So in the treatment plan here, I'll just need to delete it all off because it won't let me. Once they've marked it up, it takes away the option to change the image. But if we clear that off, we then get our select image option here. And then in addition to the 4 that are kind of hard coded in, I can then go and select my before picture.
Pretty cool, huh?
Okay. And then
Yeah,
what that does is over the top of the image, you've got a view box. So I think if we are, is that this bit here? Yeah, this is our view box, isn't it? Here we go. Yeah, view box. So that looks at the width of the image, and that this model view box width gets changed when the user selects a different image.
Yeah.
So over the top of here, if you change the opacity, you'd be able to see that over the top, so that then when they click, it still ends up in the right place.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So yeah, it took a while to get it off the ground from mine and Charles's initial call of, have you thought about using SVGs? But yeah, I think it's come together quite well there.
Great, thank you. It's really neat to see different use cases of things. I mean, it's still all data, right? At the end of the day, it's all data, but it's neat how we're using this data to represent something very visual and, clinical in that sense. So that's pretty cool. Thank you.
May I ask, did you also consider using a web mapping library like Leaflet or so you wouldn't struggle with all these coordinate stuff?
I didn't, to be honest. I think once Charles had suggested the SVG, I probably went down that path and never really looked for anything else because the coordinates bit did take quite a while. But yeah, I mean, there may have been easier ways to achieve it. Don't tell me about them though, because it took too long to do.
Well, there's so many ways of doing things, right? So it's like, what resonates with you as well, and where your headspace is. And, as long as you get to the end of the road, that's what counts. Awesome. Next up, we have Nick Curse, and Nick is going to show us his project that he's been working on for the past little bit and tell us all about what it does and so on. So take it away, Nick.
Hello, everybody. My name's Nick, and I've got this little app called MonuCore. First off, I want to say that I'm extremely flattered and a little bit out of place being able to present this to you guys. You guys are really, really talented. So we own a monument company that sells, produces, designs, and installs cemetery headstones. And 10 years ago, there wasn't really anything in the industry. So I started building in MonuCore, and then always wanted a way to get that out on the web. And I ran into Charles and BetterForms about 5 years ago. So this is about 5 years worth of work that I do in my spare time. And I'll just keep it short, give you a quick overview. It's got the ability to do some CRM functions where you can create leads and move them into prospects, and then they become customers. The lead we can interact with through MonuCore, as well as keep track of some other things. The pipeline is a way to track people as they move through the different process to become a customer. Marketing, I'm still working on. Now the core part of MonuCore is going to be the orders. And we do probably 1,000 headstones a year. So it's very, very important to keep track of all and each headstone's like a little project in and of itself that has to be quoted and designed and fabricated. Material has to be purchased, and all these things have to happen and create a satisfied customer in the end. So it can get confusing, especially when you've got anywhere from 200 to 400 orders in progress at any time. This overview is a list of all the active orders with some pertinent information related to where it's at in the process. Some real critical things that need to happen first early on in the project, like the design and ordering the material. Maybe the material is something we have in stock. Maybe it's something we have in inventory. Those things are all indicated here. If you click on, let me click on a good one. Let's click on this one. It goes to the detail. And this is where all the order details are accessed. And this is monuments, is made up of several different parts, and there's several different processes involved with each monument. We have the ability to track all that, assets, and then proofs. So assets are going to be items that the customers provided to us. And then the proofs are what we send to the customer. Let's go on to create a new order. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Each monument or each order can be a monument or a service, such as a final date engraving or a work order. And then parts. This is a list of all the monument parts that we have on order that we'll mark them received once they arrive from China or India or Georgia. They come from all over the world. And this is just our stock on order, things that we maintain an inventory of. Production, we have a way to build schedules to load. So if I'm going to set some monuments on Christmas, I would create a load, and then from there, I would start. I need to downsize these images that take too long. I can start loading them on the truck, and that sets a load date or a set date for those that can be seen on the main order list. And then our field installers, they use this on their phones to complete and set the monuments. It gives the ability to take the picture. Of course, this looks better on a phone. But anyway, the field guys will take a picture and complete it, and that automatically sends a photo and an email to the customer, so they get notified in real time. And I'm trying to build out some more notification features as these projects move through the different phases. Pricing, everything's done through a monument calculator. This was a pretty big deal to put this together. It's a lot of formulas and calculations going on. So that's sending a lot of information to FileMaker. I'm redoing this because I figured out I can do probably 90% of this, maybe more, in JavaScript without calling FileMaker. So I'm redoing the calculator.
Is the idea, Nick, of that page, it calculates like the volume of the stone and the different materials and puts it all together? Is that
Yes, it's
sort of the
referencing
idea?
it's referencing a color, and each color has its own price per cubic foot.
Right.
And so yeah, it's pulling all that information in. And so yeah, it's converting those size numbers into feet and inches, and then figuring the cubic feet, and then applying a cost.
So your goal, Nick, now is to basically acquire new clients. Is that it? New other monument manufacturers?
Yes.
Or would that be your end user?
Yes. Either monument companies or funeral homes, anybody that interacts with monuments, even vendors. So my vendor could use this and provide a calculator to their customers, to other monument companies. So, and I've got one vendor that I'm talking to about it, and I've got two or three monument companies that are subscribers currently. And then I'm going to the industry show in February, get a little more exposure.
And what are your plans for the app for between now and February?
Just really working with Pearson and everybody to get it cleaned up a little bit. They've done some fantastic work on it. And then
so you've got, it looks like you got a lot of heavy lifting done, which is really, really good. So it's really like there's a ton of work that's gone into here. You can see that. I think Pearson's going to come up next as well, and he's got some. Or we're actually, Pearson, we're going to push you back just one extra one, just so we make sure that we get Stefan on before our time is up.
Yeah, I wanted to just say real quick that Neil has inspired me with the SVG. So this is look forward to this next year.
So this is a new feature that you're going to do, like a stone layout type idea.
Yeah, the design tool. Yeah,
this
Nick,
is interesting.
Can I ask you a question? Nick, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You were mentioning the calculations, but did you manage to keep the FileMaker backend really small, or is there you want to redo your backend? I understood, right? So there are currently too many calculations fields or something in there, or why do you want to redo the FileMaker part or the calculation part?
Because it's very long, and it's not very clean, and it's a series. First it calculates, it's several calculations, not just one. So I've got a size to inches conversion, then I've got a size to a cubic feet conversion, and feet to inches conversion, and all these things. There's probably 20 different calculations in there, and if I change one, I got to go check all the other ones to make sure it's all flowing and giving me the right results. And I've been playing around with the JavaScript, and I just like it a lot better. There's not really a problem with the FileMaker side. It's more intuitive for me.
No.
We're seeing a lot more, we have a good 15-20%, I think, is something like that, roughly, of people with software as a service or vertical apps. I think it might be interesting that we have our own sort of subgroup. Maybe we could even get together once a month and just, talk about different things, because there's so much in that industry in terms of knowledge that we can all share. So if you're interested in that, anybody, send me a ping and we'll try to organize something.
Yeah, so I think you guys get the idea. One last thing I'm working on is oops, should have stopped while I was ahead, huh?
It's like maybe a map key or something.
Yeah, so this maps all of our cemeteries and open orders, and so I'm working on a grave location tool where the customer can click on a Google image of where the grave is located, and then it will record that and help our installers find the location. So
That's
I'll
excellent. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'll wrap it up there and turn it back over to you, Charles.
Great. Thank you, Nick. Really appreciate demoing that. And Pearson's going to have a presentation that's going to sort of tie into that up in +1. And we'll have Stefan from Switzerland come in next.
Thank you, Charles. I try to make it not too long. So, first of all, I'm a bit, how to say, possibly an outsider. I'm a professor of Jewish studies in Switzerland, in Bern, and I'm actually an archaeologist working in the southern Levant, which is basically nowadays Israel, Jordan, a bit of Egypt, a bit of Lebanon. And I'm working with ancient artifacts. And these are mostly amulets. And imagine, like with postal stamps, for example, you see over the time changes, how aesthetics change, what becomes important in which decades or centuries. So we are tracing this information actually from tiny artifacts, mostly from amulets. And I'm in a team of a quite large international project, which is about to end this month, which we had with Tel Aviv and Zurich University. And now I try to share my screen. Moment. Let me do it like that. So now you should be able to see my screen. So the thing is, what we how to say, we want to provide a research database. This means we cannot guide this our users or our researchers with their questions. So they should be able to ask data in various ways, even those which we do not anticipate. So basically, our tool is a search engine which should give back information about different kind of religious symbols, of political symbols, and all this. And for this, I built a FileMaker database at the beginning of the project, about 5 years ago or so, which was not intended to be public at some point. And we wanted to have a company building us this front end, which is open access and all this. And but it soon turned out to be far too expensive to do so, because with FileMaker, as we all know, it's so easy and simple to add new scripts, to add new buttons here and there, to add new functionality. And it's very dynamic, especially if you are working in a scholarly team. So to make it short, so these artifacts I'm talking about, they look like this. They are often in the shape of a beetle. That's a symbology from ancient Egypt, which refers to the sun circle in a way. And these artifacts, which were used as a necklace or as a ring or something like that, they all have small imagery on their basis. Now, this is, I could talk hours about this, but I want to show you how we solved it. So in one way to approach this data is that you search for known place names, for example, which you could do in a simple search, and you could search for individual places. Another thing is what is obvious, of course, that you should have some sort of an advanced search, allowing you to add in a linear way, your questions, or you should be able to enter the parameter, your search parameters. We have about 60 base parameters for each and every item, so it's quite complicated. So if it's working now. So easy searches, advanced searches, as we all know them from various apps. That's one thing. We present it in a list view, as many of us would do so. I introduced a gallery view which only focuses on the images themselves. We also have graphs which help the user to understand how his data is shaped in a way. So we have information about the production date, about the archaeological deposition date of the individual items. We have information about which pharaohs were involved in what imagery and so on and so forth. One thing which is quite, how to say, users or nobody reads actually manuals or so it should be quite intuitive how to use these search mechanisms. One thing which I very much like is the following, that we have graph input, or the possibility to, for example, to select regions you want to look at graphically, so that you can actually select the sites you want to search for, and then it would well, now it didn't work. Wow, demo effect. No, not good. Hold. Let's start over. Again. It should work now. There's obviously a bug. Ah, how disappointing. Sorry to not being able to show this. Never mind. But if we search for items, we also want to show, for example, their graphic distribution. And for this, I built in this way of visualizing immediately where material comes from. This could be a heat map, or it could be a cluster map, as it's now shown on the screen. Of course, people should be able to view. Let me just search for one pretty item. No, there is no pretty item at the moment. Of course, we have a detail view also, which gives information for the user, gives detailed information about each and every item we are presenting. And in order to help the user to navigate through all this data, for example, we built in tooltips which directly refer to other imagery or so, or bibliographic entries are immediately available. We also have the possibility to have some sort of incoming links to other items, so items that refer to specific items. So we try to help the user to get as much data as possible on one screen. Imagery, we have very high resolution images. That's unfortunately now a very bad one. That's too much. And we allow the user, for example, also to take his own measurements. You know, sometimes people want to measure hieroglyphs or something like that, so they can measure directly on the screen whatever they want. We have all kind of dialogues which inform the user. Oh no, this won't work now. That's the bad side. Which informs the user about site information and stuff like that. Aside of this advanced search, we have what I call query builder, which allows the user to browse through roughly, as I said, 60 base parameters and add queries on top of each other. So you can search for items coming, let's say, from Jerusalem that are blue but not red, and come from, let's say, tomb contexts, and are vertically perforated but not horizontally perforated. So you can build all these kinds of queries in this what I call query builder, which allows to have a string of queries. which you can then can combine with and or not statements. Yes, people can save the stuff into collections so that they can retrieve it at a later stage. At some point that it's not yet built in, they will be able to store their searches. Export is still an issue, and I love what I saw today. Very nice and neat way to allow users to export their data. And that's about it. Without FM BetterForms, we wouldn't have been able to put this all out. It's quite fast to build this up. I needed to learn a lot in order to navigate a little bit with this new technology, but I love it, and I'm sure that we will have in the future other projects also using FM BetterForms, because it's a very affordable way to put your data and scientific data to the public. That's it. Thank you.
Wow. That's really nice UI too. Very very research wiki kind of like.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. So your query builder, are you processing all of those in the back, kind of building an array and just kind of chunking through and doing extend found set, constrain found set, omit found set, and so on based on the items? I see. Yeah. Clever. Yeah.
It's all, all the search parameters are in a huge JSON, which that's a downside. It's really very huge and needs a lot of time to load.
So these are like the values for those things.
Yeah, so that you have instant response, it's very adaptive. So once you select this, you can then only select this and that, because all the other options would not be available for a specific item or site or so. That's one thing. And the advanced search, this was the first I did, and this builds a huge SQL query in the back. Yeah,
that's really it's I just putting in the chat there. Every time I see these types of apps, like it's crazily different things, an app somebody's built for monuments, an app somebody's built for artifact research, yeah, and Botox. It's just so diverse ideas. And we have FileMaker all this as a back end, which is pretty cool.
And we also need to build in, for example, DOIs, so that we have permanent links, which are stable for the future and all this. It's still some way to go. So, but I wanted to also stick with basically with a single page layout, so that people can view the information in a quite easy and neat way. Yeah.
Awesome. Really appreciate you you demoing this stuff, and I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to jump back to Pearson, and he's going to present some UI things that he's going to be working with Nick on our previous presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. Here we go. As Charles mentioned, this is in collaboration with Nick for MonuCore, and here we have one of the pages that he showed us earlier. And what we wanted to do was try to unify the design a little bit, try to bring this all into a single style and create a benchmark, or not a benchmark, but a standardized format for this page that can be applied to the rest of the pages. Because as we see, or as we have seen, there are a lot of pages in this app, and thankfully everything works, and that's a huge that's really big for us to get started with. Like that's a really easy jumping off point. So yeah, just to make all these pages unified, I started off with this one. This is a pretty heavily used page. It's got a lot of stuff on it. And I just wanted to clean it up. So here we have the old version, or the current version, you might say. Here's the modified version that I've created. So what I did was, first of all, just unifying all the text. I noticed that there were, various different sizes and weights, colors. Just tried to bring it all together to make it a little more, uh, like I said, unified. Um, and I also worked on making this responsive. So here, if I use this as an example, I can stretch and expand the table here, and now it can be usable on any size screen. Another major change that I did was changing these buttons up here. So I identified that the different types of buttons and what they do, what their functions are. So obviously new order, that's a pretty major one. I wanted to keep that pretty prominent. But these other ones like the map and the shop grid, scheduled, promised, and resetting that list, I found didn't quite fit that same level of importance, or it didn't fit in the same hierarchy as the new order button. So I wanted to separate them as different views and different filters. So the map view and the shop grid view, those are two different ways of viewing this information, or different ways of displaying this data. So here I just have a drop down to show the different views. We have a data table, which is this. In this drop down, there's the map and the shop grid. So those can still be accessed. It shows you which one is currently selected, and you can change between them. The promise dates and the scheduled dates, those are actually filters for, you see here in orders promised, and the cemeteries, they have, some of them have additional information, additional dates here. And so these buttons, scheduled and promised, those were just ways to filter this information. So if I were to select the scheduled button here, that would show all of the orders that I think have scheduled dates in there. So I just wanted to make them as clearer, quick filters that can be applied right at the top there. These filters in the table, sometimes it's a little hard, especially if a table is full like this one. There's a lot of columns. It makes it more difficult to put the filters in the table header here because, as you can see, they kind of get cut off. Some of them might require larger spaces for more text and typing. So I just wanted to hide those in a filters button here, or a modal, only because sometimes it's easier to just apply them all and see them as a list like this. So here you can just say, I know what I'm looking for. I know what order ID it is, the family name, and who it's sold by. I'm just gonna type in as much information as I need to find that particular order that I'm looking for. So you can type in everything here or make your selections and apply those filters, and they'll be applied as such. You'll have these badges that show you the filters that you used. You can clear them easily or clear them quickly from here, or go back into your filters and modify those parameters that you've selected. And down here, this is the method of selecting the different states or different statuses for each of these columns. What I wanted to change from this was they're displayed in 3 columns, which I kept, but they were in separate, they were kind of separated, but when you'd click into one, it brings up a modal to edit all of them. So to make it a little more clear and just make it easier to modify and make it a little more obvious which one is being modified, instead of opening up a modal to change all 3 of them, each one is just a drop down in itself that you can change between the different statuses for whether it's orders, the design, or the materials. I think that's just a little easier and a little more uh, just I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word, intuitive. The next page that I was working on was in the order details of a particular item in this list. So in the order details, these it's a long page, a lot of information, and again, I just wanted to unify the style to match um, within this page and the orders page that I had just designed. So here, there's some text varying sizes and weights and everything. So instead, what I wanted to do was use the same style of text, use the same standardized method of showing these fields and collapse and headers and subheaders. And up in this header here, I found that some of this information, I understand what I'm looking at, but it's not obvious to me off the bat. And one of the points, or one of the key points I've made in previous Friday Lives, just in my little UX corners, is about navigation. So if we're in the orders page here and we select one of the rows, that brings you to the order details, but there's no way, at least from here, to get back. So a really important part of the user experience is the navigation and making sure that you can get from one point to another and back again if you need to. So here I just took all of this information that I see in the header and tried to display it in a way that makes the hierarchy of information a little more obvious. So here I added the order name, so you know where you are, you know where you're located. You can go back. There's a little back chevron to go back to the orders list. And I put the actions at the top here. So we have two major actions: completing this order and promising a date. So those are two key buttons that are displayed at the top, and the other ones are a little more secondary. So I put them in a more actions icon at the top there. So that would include, I guess, as a PDF, a link to the client portal and a link to the approvals. This information, I like how what Nick did was display some of that prominent information at the top in bold, or in a larger font, so that it's easy to see. So what I wanted to do, if that's the goal, is to make it more visible. Instead of just making it bigger, I just wanted a little accent color using some of the branding that we have here, and that's just an orange tint. So here we still have the same information. We have who it's sold by, the date that it's set on, and the designer, but just making that a little more obvious, or a little more visible, styled a little differently so that it stands out. So here, just at the top, we have a lot of information shown immediately, kind of the more important information, and below we have just other details that can be collapsed and expanded and edited. So here we have, and another point that I want to make is that in this redesign, sometimes in other situations, I might have different ideas of how to approach something, but in a case like this, where everything is functional, everything works, all I want to do is just restyle it, reskin it. I wasn't touching any of the functionality, because I think what we have here actually is very usable. So just purely UI changes is what I was focused on. So that's just unifying these cards, making the edit making the edit more obvious as to what it's editing. So for example, here we have the family name and it says edit, but the cemetery name does not say edit. To me, when I look at that at first, it makes me think that I'm only editing the family name when I click this, but in reality, clicking edit would open up a modal editing all of the content. So in order to make that more obvious, I just have a little edit button at the top here, making it unassociated with a particular field and trying to make it look like it's editing the whole card itself. So here we just have all of this same information that we have on the original page, just creating that unified style or standardized style for for these cards. Using the same table as the previous page. The key here is just reusing elements so that you're not going back and forth between styles. And yeah, so really this page, once you have kind of that standardized design system, then it's a lot easier to get the ball rolling and continuing to update these pages.
Cool.
Last thing I'll talk about is the design system itself. So everything that we have in this page and in the orders page, all of these elements and components are put into this design system so that I can pull them and use them, rearrange them easily. So here I have, just here's what the header overlay looks like. Here's what the side navigation looks like. Here's what each, here are all the states of the navigation items. We just have each component has to have some kind of guideline or standard. So here is a table. This is what a table looks like when it's in a default state. Here's what it looks like in when it's being hovered. The buttons, here's the default state, the hover, the click. Here's what it looks like if it's a secondary button. Here are the icon buttons with a hover state. I'm trying to find some more interesting examples, but this this field, what I use in Figma is these different properties, and I can edit them. So if I clone that, I have all these properties that I can just change and manipulate however I want. So it keeps it as the same standard input field, but now I can remove the label, or I can remove the left icon, I can remove the right icon, I can change what that icon looks like, whatever I want to do, but it's always going to be the same. And so I use this particular component a lot in these pages. I guess more in the this one with the no visible field behind it. This is just kind of a standard no input, and I use this component throughout this page. So just making sure that you can have that standardized guideline will help you, create and expand on your pages without deviating from the original style or the style that you've landed on.
Great. Thanks, Pearson.
Yeah, no problem.
We're going to jump over to Hassan. He's going to show us a project he has been working on.
Hey guys, how's it going? So I'll just share my screen over here and get started. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
All right, so I'll be showing the mobile screen side by side with this. This is something Pearson designed as well. So yeah, I'll just get started. I'll log in here on both screens. And password. All right, there. Now you can see I'm logged in. So on the desktop version, we're seeing the same views over here. This is the dashboard. Over here in the desktop version, we have the sidebar that's popped up from the start. Over here, we have the orders that are part of the project we're in. And I'll get more into this. So you start by joining. You can create a project here under whatever company you would like. So let's just make one real quick. Choose the dates. Some validation here. You can pick a date in the past and then save. Over here, when you get to the project, you can choose by managing users or creating an order. Let's go to the manage user workflow real quick. So I'm already added in because I created it. And what I can do here is I can even invite other users. Send an invite over. And now they have an invite. There's even a recent invite thing. If they didn't get this one, click this, send them another email. But yeah, so let me get to what this app is about. This app is kind of about renting equipment out for lighting equipment. You have shoot dates and everything for a period of time you want to rent stuff out. So I'm going to go into a project over here, the one we just created. We're already in here. We have a few modals here. Project settings. This is just information they can't really change. Manage users is the modal we just went through. New order over here is where you create the order. This is the bulk of the workflow, where the bulk of the workflow starts. So I'm gonna order over here. I go through, I choose my options. Am I gonna deliver, pick up? Let's just continue. Only the dates are mandatory fields here for validation, so I'll just only fill in the dates for now. And create an order. Then I get brought over to this page where all the information is. So at the start, you see everything like this, and you can search for the equipment you want. You can collapse, open, look for what things you want. I can click into something to see an image, as well as I can add it to my cart from here. I can add a note. Save it. I can add items manually if I want. Oh, oops, I accidentally clicked something. I can add items manually. And there's a little loading thing here. If you guys notice my cursor, this is just so everything in the back end happens before you can change anything. So my items in my cart are right here, and I'll show another example of that. If I X this over here, I can't click stuff on my screen until that's fully done. And there we go. Oh, there's something that happened there, but that's fine. It's probably just front end stuff. Over here, order settings is another new modal that we just made, where you can edit the order setting, the order you just created, which is different dates. And a technique I use here is kind of like inline editing. When I click edit, it switches its view and I can edit stuff. And to get rid of this, instead of clicking save or cancel, I can just click anywhere and it'll go back to the other view and it'll save the changes I just made. So over here, for example, if I change the date there, I go out, now the date was changed and I can click save. I'll give a brief view of the mobile screen as well over here. This is the same as the dashboard that we just viewed earlier. Instead, to save room, we have dates here that you can expand. And if you notice, if I scroll down, the top header disappears. This was a good design idea Pearson came up with just to like save room. So now it disappears and I scroll up and it's back. So every time I scroll up, the things come back, the header. When I scroll down, they disappear just so you can see more as you're scrolling through. This happens on most screens, just to give more view. After they're done with this workflow, they would submit something for a quote. Go over here. And over here, these are just test buttons in the dev environment only. They're disabled in prod. And this is where they'd be viewing their order. I'll go to one that already has some stuff that we can look at. So right over here. Yeah, and this is what it looks like on this page. They'll just be reviewing their order. First, they have a waiting phase where they can't do anything, can't edit. This is where like Ben and his team, who's part of the Cinder Lighting team, are reviewing the order and confirming it. Next, they get to this order where they can edit anything they want, change some stuff. These are different cases. If they're out of stock on an item, they can choose alternates. And then they can increase again. This is the next step again. The header looks a little weird right now just because these are all test ones that aren't available in prod. But yeah, they'll just go through all of these. And I'll show the mobile for this as well, because this was something that also looks nice. Again, with the header, that's just for the dev environment. It looks like this, just so we can go through all the different phases. Yeah, this went through a few iterations as well. You can see all their items here, prices, quantity. They can expand this over here to look at all their additional things. I noticed the DevTools Port a Bug feature are both blocking some stuff, but again, that's just dev environment. Then they can even download their quote over here. And I'll open up a PDF for them to look at. Yeah, that's the bulk of the app, with one part I missed out on actually. Over here, if you go into account, they also have to set up a lot of account features to move forward. And right over here, for example, sign rental agreement. This is something they have to do before making an order. So if I click sign here, notice I get a modal over here because some fields aren't filled up. So I can fill those fields up. So I fill it up and I can save it. And now I can see the rental agreement. Scroll down saying I've read it, sign it. Now we got a confirmation email there. And credit card over here, a technique I want to say that we used here is something called delete paths. So this is for security reasons. So if I enter a new credit card here, and let's just say I just fill this in, what's going to happen is I have this key in my data model. It's called delete paths, and that just deletes this object so it doesn't get anywhere for anyone to see, I guess. It's pretty good for security purposes. And then the front end, they can only see after the credit card. Oh, let me just make a test one real quick. So cards right here, and they only see the last 4 digits on the front end as well.
Just a quick note there. Sorry, Hassan.
Yeah.
Just a quick note. So generally speaking, it's not a good practice to store your credit cards inside a database, but there are some legitimate cases when you need to do that, and this happens to be one. So if you do need to pass a credit card through BetterForms, so to make sure the data is not logged anywhere, all the incoming data is normally logged in the helper file. So that's then it's sitting at rest sort of in plain sight. So that delete paths that Hassan showed, basically what it does is the helper file will obfuscate those paths that you specify in the helper file. The data still gets passed through the hooks, so your scripts can process it, you can encrypt it and do whatever you want in FileMaker. But we want to make sure that that doesn't get logged in the helper, and that'll block those out. So that's it's a feature that's in all of the helper files. It's been in BetterForms like for about 5 years or so, but it doesn't get used that often, but it does have a use case.
Yeah. And over here on the mobile, another thing that I used differently was for mobile, the sidebar is a component, whereas over here, it's not a component, it's just a part of the form header. And that allowed the page to be viewed a lot better. Yeah, and this app is fully mobile compatible as well. Has all the stuff, same thing.
That sidebar nav looks really nice. The colors,
yeah, I like the blue and yellow mix with the gray. Yeah, that was the main app I was presenting. Yeah, let me actually just go into an order real quick to show. I think I forgot to show one of the views. Yeah, and if they have stuff in their cart, they get taken directly to the cart page instead of looking at their items. And if they want to add more items, they can go back here and start adding some items. And over here, same technique I was talking about earlier, where if I scroll down, the top bar disappears just so they have more of a view when they're looking. And if I scroll back up, it comes back.
maybe in a future date, you can show how you do that as a technique. That would be kind of interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Quick technique corner there. A good example.
Awesome. That's all for me. Any questions?
There's maybe a couple here. Whatever they had to run. Does not look like it. All right. You guys burned out yet, or want to see one more?
Sure. I got one quick question. What are you using to identify which environment you're in? Where is that stored as part of the JSON object that comes in? Because you're showing and hiding buttons based on environment.
Yeah, so we have something called is dev mode where we can check. So it's a view app and it's like $store.state.site content.dev mode. So there's a way you can determine if you're in dev. I'll just show the code real quick. Actually, I'll share my screen. I do this for the marker as well. So it's just this right over here. If you can see that. Yeah,
that would
that's
be
how
good
I
to wrap
determine.
up into a BF function, actually. I'll make note of that. We'll add that in as a feature request.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Right, and then it'll just be like bf.isDev mode.
Yep.
And that way you don't have to remember it as much. We'll add that in. I think that's a good way. There's a lot of ways of doing that, Chris. Another way is to check the location and see if it contains or includes the text string of whatever your dev domain is as well. But with that, you can't programmatically turn it on and off, whereas the is dev mode, you could sort of enable dev mode if you had to go into production and do some kind of debugging or something, which does technically happen.
Yeah.
You can also throw it in an app key too, and just hang something in an app key and then turn the app key on and off from the main app.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Right. So, app dot, show my hidden features. It's true and false, and just hang stuff there.
Yep.
So there's lots of ways, I don't know if one way is clearly better, but all right, we're gonna wrap it up with Andrew, and he's gonna do a project that him and Chris had worked on collaboratively, I believe.
Yeah. Thanks, Charles. Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm a developer at FM BetterForms, and the app I'll be showcasing today is called Great Kids, which is an app that we built together with the team at NaviQ, Chris, Paul, and Vanessa. Some background: Great Kids is an organization that focuses on educational programs and curriculums for young children between, I think, the ages of 0 to 5. And we created a platform for them to have a catalog and sell various curriculums and be able to purchase and assign and ship them to the respective recipients. Over here, we have the catalog. This is dev data, so we have some example curriculums that you can purchase. We have a filter on the top that filters by category, so virtual certifications, self-paced online courses, etc. We'll do all products. You can add products to your cart. So over here, we have add cart buttons. On top of that, you can also go into each individual item and see a bit of information on them. As this is dev data, not all of this will have some information, but here you can see we can add it to the cart. You can change the quantity here through these selectors or by inputting a number specifically. You can also add items to the cart from the catalog itself. So for example, I'll add these 2 items. And on the top right, you'll see that there's the cart button, which when opened, opens up this cool drawer. This drawer is using a library called Shoelace, which I've showcased in the past in a previous Friday Live, and I think some people have actually used this. I know Neil has implemented this into one of his applications. But even in here in the cart, you can modify items, add items, etc. In order to check out, you will have to log in. So if you try to do payment, it will. Oh, I'm already logged in here. Okay, so I'll skip the step, but we'll save some time. From here, you can purchase your cart items. To save time, I won't go through all this, but we use Stripe to handle the payments, or you can also upload a purchase order, which we use API and the API dashboard for that there. Once you have purchased your items, you can go to My Orders, where you'll see a list of your previous orders and the history and the status of the items, as in once you order the item, you have to also assign and ship those items to their recipients. Let's go into an example order. For example, here on this screen, we have some cool things such as the some tooltips we have, which explain what some of these terms mean. We have tooltips on these icons here, which shows the units left to be shipped. And you can go into each of these items and ship or assign them to their recipients. I believe this app is already being used in production, and maybe Chris can give some more insight on how that's going. But overall, it's a pretty clean app. It also works on mobile. So if we go to a responsive view and collapse the screen, you'll see that these cards go from a kind of row view to more of a collapsed column, and they can use it as such. So pretty cool app. This is one of the 2 apps we built with NaviQ. The other one would be Green Rock, which I've shown a few times in the past. And if you saw our presentation at the Engage You conference in Antwerp, I've also demonstrated that there. But yeah, overall, pretty cool. And Chris, did you have something to say there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the use cases that was unique on this is when the customer makes the purchase, they often don't know who's going to use the electronic versions or where the items are to be shipped. So that's why at the time of purchase, we couldn't ask them for shipping info. A lot of times they'll purchase 10 for the year, and throughout the course of the year, they'll assign them to different people. And when they do an assignment, that's really an electronic version. And what happens then is they get pushed to this really cool software called Lock Wizard that provides them a PDF that has DRM on it. that
That's cool.
they can then open up, and it's the software is incredible. They open up this PDF. If I were to open up this PDF on this Zoom, I could read it. You guys, it would be a black screen for you guys. Anytime you screenshot the PDF, anytime you
Nice.
try to do anything, it's totally locked. You can't screen share, you can't take screenshots of it. It always turns out black. So for them, it allowed them to go, they've totally changed their business model in the last 2 years from in-person lessons to now purchasing through this BetterForms app, electronic. It goes right to them, no touch for them. Their scale is growing immensely because of how this has worked. It is from a very limited scale to now they don't even need to touch a customer at this point. They purchase all the way to delivery is all automated for their electronics. Andrew, one other thing you might want to demo is if you go back to your shopping cart, they cannot make the purchase until they continue to payment. They can't make the.
Let me log out first and do that same workflow because I'm already logged into your account there.
Oh, that's okay. You could have. I wasn't actually going to have you make the payment. That's fine.
Got it. So yeah, so at this point I am logged out. So if I go to my cart and attempt to change the payment, it will ask me to log in first.
Yeah, but if you want to log in here, the terms and conditions was really important for them. And this was what they settled. If you scroll down, so right now you can see he cannot click the confirm payment. And he cannot even click, I have reviewed he can't click that either until he literally scrolls. They wanted them to have to scroll all the way through it. I know everyone's just going to scroll on their own and not actually read it, but until they get to the end, now he can check I have reviewed, but it couldn't do it until, and Andrew was the one that, Andrew and Steve had done it and Andrew implemented it for us. So it was really handy. That was a big sell for them that they couldn't just check the box without scrolling through it.
Nice and clean.
Yeah, that was Pearson and Andrew did a great job.
Thank you guys.
All right, awesome. Is this sharing the wrong thing? Yeah, of course it is. Let's try this again. Where's my settings? Is it this one? No. Just a sec. Sorry about that. Oh well. We'll fake it. All right. Any questions for anybody? Any of the presenters today? All right, we had quite a bit of range of stuff there, which was good. So special thanks to everybody who presented. I know this takes time out of your busy schedule, especially this time of year. We're gonna have our draw as we normally do. And basically the people's names that go into the draw are the ones who have registered in advance. And the way this works is if the person's not here, then it is we draw again. Is that showing up okay?
Yep.
Okie doke.
We might be here for a while.
Oh, I know. But you never know. Come on, Jason. Come on. Stefano, I don't think he saw him come in. Jason's saying, yeah, but my name's right underneath this. All right. It's amazing how Beverly did have to. Oh no, it's Alex. Alex here?
Yes.
He is? All right.
Well, whether he's here, it is.
Contact Madalena and maybe just left it open. How does that rule work? Oops.
Well, I saw him on mute, so I think he's here.
Right. Okie dokie. So just Alex, contact Madalena and I think he's won like a couple times now. So we got some new stuff though, which is cool. All right.
Hello, guys.
Hello. We're gonna just finish up the recording today, and we'll hang out afterwards. Once again, everybody, thank you very, very, very much for coming out, and we'll see you in the new year. Have a safe and happy holiday.